that I want to help nonprofits take care of is ensuring that you have the systems and operations in place to move accordingly. Because then, if nobody can survive without you, you don't have a sustainable organization, right? You have an overextended founder who is holding it together with duct tape, right? And pretending they're okay. Now, that's the one thing I'm going to say about that. You want to remove yourself from that situation where you are basically burning yourself out and thinking you can do everything because that's not okay. So, if you're new here, my name is Stacey, and I work with growth-minded nonprofit leaders who are ready to run their organizations with clarity, structure, and systems in place instead of stress and chaos and all that confusion that ends up making the nonprofit being stuck in the sauce because there's no other way for me to describe it this morning. Oftentimes, organizations will find themselves um, going through the motions and going through the day to day, just trying to get things done, right? So I specialize in strategic planning, operational planning, systems audit and design, and fractional COO support. And if your nonprofit or social enterprise at that is generating under $10 million, you're ready to lead, not just survive. I can help you fix what's not working. Okay. So whether it's through my on-demand course, the digital tools, one-on-one consulting, you never have to do this alone. And it's understandable if you don't have the tools necessary. And that's the part of this journey, this growth journey that everybody is on, is accepting that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So let's talk about the main issue that I want to discuss today is you're the founder, you care deeply, right? You show up daily. When I say daily, you show up daily. Even on the weekend, you're trying to get things going and you don't know what to do, right? But you're buried in program delivery, staff issues, payroll, grant deadlines, and HR fires that you want to put out. And that's just one example of it. Because when I say founders, oftentimes are buried in program delivery. They're doing everything to make sure the program goes well or whatever projects they have in place. The staff nowadays, like, listen, I met someone who said that managing people felt like babysitting to her. So staff issues are a big one for founders when that your job is leadership, but managing the day-to-day is not it. Okay. Hey Mabel, hey Wilty. Mama Island Girl. So the plan is to make your organizations and your corporation, your company, whatever it is, sustainable, right? So the actual strategy, it needs to include infrastructure in there, right? Because the plan is to make sure that your organization and corporation, they're sustainable, right? And that's the first thing I want you to keep in mind. They need to be sustainable. So that should not be at the bottom of your to-do list because if it's at the bottom of your to-do list, all you're doing is just setting yourself up for failure, and that's not okay, right? So according the National Council of Nonprofits, the one thing they said is that 60% of nonprofits experience leadership burnout within the first 5 years. That's not a lot of time. So within the first 5 years, leaders burn out. And founder-led organizations, that risk is even higher. Now, that should ring some bells because founders have a tendency to cling very tightly to the organizations they're leading because they want their vision to come to light, right? They're not treating the organization with detachment like they should and putting the vision down and making sure they have the tools to implement the activities and actions that are necessary to put the vision into, to bring it into fruition, right? Now, the reason for that, like I said, they're emotionally connected to the work. They become the system, right? They wear every hat and never stop to build the actual infrastructure that makes them replaceable. I don't know about you if you've heard people say that, but a lot of people tell me, oh, I do it because nobody does it right. There's a reason they don't do it right because you don't give them the opportunity to. Your expectations are too high and they are just Like some people will let you do what you do because then if you do it, I don't have to do my job and just sit there and collect a paycheck. Like you have to realize that your inability to delegate and inability to have systems in place and teach people to do a better job, it's causing you to burn out. You are choosing to burn out. A lot of people, I remember I got a lot of like heat for that on a Facebook group where I told people that overwhelm is a choice. It really is. Because at the end of the day, like the things that overwhelm us, we have the choice to either circumvent those and try something different or say no to these things. And a lot of people will not say no because then they feel obligated. They feel like they have to stay in it. But the reality is we don't. So it's not noble, right? To keep yourself in a situation where you're doing everything. And that's where I'm calling people out. It's like overwhelm is a choice. It took me years to accept that, acknowledge that for myself. So trust me when I say, like, I didn't always think that way, but it is a choice. Think about, um, I can't I can't go out with my friends because I have to come home and make dinner for my kids, right? A lot of people will say that and use that as an excuse, like, hey Zoe, they will say, Zoe, is that you, girl? Oh, hey, Zoe. So they will say that they can't cook dinner for their kids or they can't start a business because they have young kids. Because listen, I'm looking for my glasses and I can't find it, Zoe. You got me all excited. I haven't seen you in a hot minute. But Zoe is wonderful at what she does. Like if you're watching here or watching the replay, go ahead and go on Zoe's profile. Um, but essentially, you need to be able to delegate when necessary. You need to make decisions that align with what you're trying to accomplish. If you say you want more time as a mom, I'm a mom of two. I'm a mom of two, and I had to come to the realization that my children, I needed to be okay to show up better for my kids. So what that entailed is making sure I carved out time for me to ensure that I was okay. And at first I had the mom guilt. Like years ago, I had the mom guilt when I only had one kid, right? Because now I have two, a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old. So it's like now it's like back to square one. So the lessons I learned with my 9-year-old enabled me to be a better parent for my 2-year-old. And the reason for that is I understood that I was in a situation where I was overwhelmed, and that's because of choices and decisions I was making for myself as a mom and as a woman. Okay? Because I told myself these things needed to be done now, right? They need, like, I used to get upset when my kid made a mess because I'm the type of person I need my things to be in a certain order and organized. And listen, when you got toddlers, they don't care. They don't care what you want because then it will be all over the place. Like um, the minute that they decide to. And I see a question on Facebook. How does one avoid burnout? You avoid burnout by being intentional about what you put your time in, and also being able to organize your time in a way that you prioritize time for yourself. Time for yourself does not mean that you get a mani-pedi or whatever. It means that you are grounded in yourself enough to know that you need time to, if it's decompressing, you need time to decompress. You need time away for whatever is burning you out on a daily basis, and you need time to reflect. You need time for you. Because for me, I avoid burnout by taking naps. I love taking naps. So that is something I have to put on my schedule when I can to ensure that I avoid burnout. Okay, some people, they need to hang out with their friends to avoid burnout. That's something they do. Me, everybody is different, so you have to find what works for you. What works for you to avoid burnout. If you're saying that the job is too much, that you do too much, like do a time audit of where your time is going in that job to figure out what activities you're doing. Figure out which activities are not serving you, which ones are actually causing you distress, because sometimes we do work and the work that we do, there's some things about the work that we do not like. We do not like, and we will not admit it. So we need to be very honest and with ourselves, do some introspection, do a time audit. What are you doing that is sucking the life and energy out of your day to cause you to burn out? For me, I will be very upfront. I get overstimulated when I do too much networking. So I had to scale back on networking events and scale back on mixers and things like that. Even though they are beneficial for me, I know what causes me to crash. It's that level of overstimulation with that does it for me. So you have to figure out what causes you to burn out. And I even had a conversation with my 9-year-old who explained to him that I crash out and burn out when I'm overstimulated. So it's funny that my 9-year-old, when he sees me frazzled, he's like, Mom, are you overstimulated right now? I will tell him yes. And he is the most interesting 9-year-old. He will tell me, okay, let me give you some space. I'll come back and ask you for my Robux. I'm like, great. Okay. So those are things I want you to start doing for yourself. As the founder of your organization, you really need to look into, like, internally to determine what you need to avoid burnout, and also acknowledge if you are too emotionally invested in the work that you're doing for the organization. The reason I say that, sometimes we are too emotionally connected with the work that we are not thinking strategically or being intentional about the work that we're doing, right? So a pattern I notice is like founders will build great programs, right? But never document how they run it. I had a meeting with this gentleman um in February, and sharing with me the programs he's been running for years. And when I ask him, okay, what's the process? Do you have it documented? If you take an intern or whatnot to do the work, what would they be doing? And he proudly said all of that lived in his head. So sometimes I need you to let go of that sense of ownership that you have when it comes to a nonprofit organization, because I'm sorry to tell you, a nonprofit doesn't belong to you. And the IRS made sure to tell you that, right? It doesn't belong to you. That's why you got a board. It does not belong to you. And that's why they say not for profit, because whatever revenue you generate does not go to you as the founder or owner. So that sense of ownership that that person had already told me that it's going to be hard for them to let go of that control, because it's a false sense of control that exists with founders that think like that. So you need to start building, when you build great programs, you need to document how they are being ran. The reason you need to document how they're being ran, if somebody ever comes through and you need to delegate, they have something to fall back on and a process to follow. Another thing I see is that the founders or executive directors, maybe it's a small organization, they're doing the work of 3 to 5 people, but tell themselves they can't afford to delegate. You cannot afford to delegate if you don't make a plan to afford it. Because if you tell yourself, we need somebody to do XYZ, this is what we need, this is the money we need, your brain will start working to generate that revenue and start thinking of things you need to do to generate that revenue. But if you tell yourself you can't afford it, you won't be able to afford it. Because telling yourself that you can't do something is the fastest way and the biggest excuse that you can use to take yourself out of a situation where you are actually doing what you need. Because you know you need someone to delegate to, you know you need the help, but you're telling yourself you can't afford it or you can't do it. Okay, how about yourself? We can't do it now, but we're going to work on generating the revenue for this position because this position is essential for this organization if we're going to grow. And that's the thing I want you to start thinking about and start rewiring how or reframing how you speak about what you need. Like instead of absolutes, we can't do it. Yes, you can. How are you going to do it? Make a plan for it. Okay. And you need to stop as a leader. You need to stop avoiding operational clarity because it feels overwhelming. Because then a lot of folks don't like, because a lot of folks, when they realize I'm very organized and I like planning everything, they say it's overwhelming and it's a lot. But in business and organizations, there's a reason it's that way. That's because that level of clarity helps you manage this organization better and for you to follow a plan in a way that makes sense. Okay, because that will feel overwhelming until someone quits or a funder asks for proof of impact, and then you're panicking. So that's why you need a level of clarity and you need it to make sense, right? Because founders who stay buried in work will eventually burn out, and that will stall their mission. Because if they burn out, they're probably going to take a week off, 2 weeks off, nobody's doing the work. So the mission is going to stall. And now the person that's going to be affected, or the individuals that will be affected, are the people that you serve, right? So the shift, you need to have a shift. I'm going to transition into something else I want to talk about, which is very important. You need to have a shift from being founder-led or um, leadership-led, right? Only people in the leadership or with the titles. Because for me, I call it title-led because some people think the titles make them a leader. There needs to be a shift from founder-led to leader-led, right? Where is it's not just a personal evolution, it's an operational evolution where you are creating a culture of leadership within your organization where there's a sense of ownership between everyone in the staff, where everybody is leading the organization towards its mission. So that's what I want you to remember here, that it needs to go from founder-led to a leader-led organization. Because once you do that, you'll be able to take your organization to the next level because now you have a team, you have a culture of individuals that really believe and want to be self-starters and will do the work. Okay. Now, sustainable missions, they require operational leadership. That's one thing I strongly believe in. So, for your mission to be sustainable, there needs to be that operational leadership I just mentioned, where the organization is just leader-led, right? It's just not one person, it's just the leaders of the organization leading it. Now, that starts with building that culture, right? One where you're not the engine, but the architect of this. It takes intention to be able to mold your team, your staff to becoming leaders, right? My framework focuses on strategic alignment where people have clear priorities, not just passion, because that's very important, but passion alone is not going to cut it, and focuses on operational readiness, where the systems support your team. And three, execution rhythm, where there are weekly check-ins and not just reactivity. Now, once your team gets into a secure rhythm, that's when you can switch from weekly to bi-weekly based on team input. I had a team that I was leading. We had weekly check-ins on Mondays, and when I had a conversation with them, they asked that I also check in with them on Fridays. So they wanted two check-ins in the week because they understood what how they worked. They needed the weekly check-in at the beginning of the week for that encouragement and the final check-in to get that accountability check-in and really discuss what didn't go wrong, what they need to improve on and things like that. So the team also will tell you how much of these check-ins they need. So don't be afraid to ask them. Okay. And some people in the team did not want the Friday check-in, but it was 70% of them wanted the Friday check-in. Okay. So that's one thing. These are the things I help organizations implement through my growth planning services, system audits, and operational design. So, and for smaller organizations that are looking to get started or just have started but are not at the $1 million annual revenue mark yet, There, I created a free space just for you. It's a Facebook group called the Growth Minded Nonprofit Circle. It's a free Facebook group. And I teach different things like how to shift from founder led to leader led, why that's important, why you need to build and use a 90-day plan, what system you need in place to stop doing everything yourself, and also how to audit your internal capacity before applying for your next grant. Because too many organizations are thinking, I need to apply for this grant, but don't understand that once you get the money, you have to prove that you're using the money and they're going to ask you for a report. So if you're not ready for it, what's going to happen is you're going to run around like you have no sense. So that's one thing I need you to understand is audit your internal capacity to know what you're ready for. Okay. Because not all money is good money and you need to make sure your organization is ready to receive it. So if your organization generates under $10 million in annual revenue and you're ready to grow with structure, definitely comment the word group or DM the word group, and I'll send you the link to join the free Facebook community. Again, that community is called the Growth Minded Nonprofit Circle. So um, moving on from that, so if you have any questions or you want to join the group, don't forget to DM me the word group and I'll send you the link. Or if you're on Facebook, comment the word group and I'll send you the link. Now, one problem, whew, Lord, give me a second. So go ahead, let me answer questions in writing for a minute. Take a breath. All right, so I am here. So if you're doing everything yourself as a founder or organization leader and you don't know where to start, I want you to try this quick method to go from founder led to a leader led model, right? Step one, I want you to list the 5 things that you're doing that no one else touches. I want you to write those down. What are the 5 things that you're doing on a consistent basis that no one touches? So examples of that will be payroll, onboarding, grant tracking, grant writing, event planning, partner calls. List 5 things that no one else touches. Okay, that will be step one. Step two, I want you to rank them by emergency and time consumption. Which one, by urgency and time consumption, so which one is more urgent, which one needs to happen faster, and how much time does it take for that activity? I want you to list those out. And step three, I want you to pick one and document the steps you take to complete it. Just pick one for Pete's sake. Pick one of these activities and document the steps you take to complete it. If it's onboarding, what do you do for onboarding? You send an email out to the person letting them know this is where we're meeting, blah, 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 blah. This is the paperwork I want you to bring. So email sent, reminder sent, meet with this person in the office, like document everything that happens to onboard this person. That's what I mean by document the steps you take to complete it. Now, that's your first system. Now, I want you, like, once you document it, it's going to be your first system. So you're going to delegate or outsource it. That's how you start delegating with confidence. Because when you don't have the documentation in place to do that, it makes it very hard for you to actually delegate anything. Because you might say you want to hire people, but if you don't have the systems in place and you bring them on, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a hot mess. So, like I said, founder to leader reset. Step one, 5 things, you're listing those, right? You list the 5 things that you do that no one touches. Hey, Nelson, and then step two, you're going to rank them by urgency and time consumption. Step three, you're going to pick one of them and you're going to document the steps you take to complete it. Okay? Because then that's the quick method I want to give you today to use in your organization to ensure that it is shifting the way it functions so you can stop doing everything and start working on just growing the organization. So, if you find that you can't lead your organization forward because you're buried inside it, that's why. Because you're doing everything and it's just making it very difficult for you. So, you have to have that shift. And if your nonprofit cannot function without you, it's not built to grow. It's built to depend on you. And that's the thing I want a lot of leaders to come to terms with. When you start taking control of so many things in your organization, you are building a dependency relationship between you and the organization or company. And that's not good leadership. That's not leadership at all. That's just you can't control people at home and you're trying to do it with your job. I don't know what else to say. So again, follow the steps. I'm going to put these in the comments because I did write them down. I'm going to put them in the comments for Facebook. So if you're on Facebook and you're watching this, you'll be able to get the steps. If you're not, go ahead and add me on Facebook. That'll be a great way for you to interact with me a little bit more because I am very active on Facebook. So, um, yeah, try those steps, see how it goes, and then we'll go from there. Now, when you make that shift from being founder-led to leader-led, a few things are going to happen. Your organization is going to be able to go from overwhelmed to operational. So why is that? The reason for that, it's now everything is going to make sense. You're going to have a system and a way that things function, and it's going to make it easier for you to step back and actually work on the organization, work on the company. Now, a lot of people don't understand what I mean by that. If you're working in the company, you don't have time to work on it. When you're working in it, you're focusing on programmatic activities and not focusing on growth strategies and high level partnerships to help the organization grow and do more, have a bigger impact. Because if you're working on the organization, you have time to start talking to people, build those partnerships, build those relationships, make sponsorship asks, go and engage with philanthropic organizations and start seeking support, right? You have the free time to do the things that you should be doing as the leader, the executive director, the CEO of the organization. So it does help you if you are building an operation and systems. And a lot of times, smaller organizations, which this is why I opened just my self-paced course. They're not there yet. They don't understand that yet. It's very important as a leader that you are developing yourself. Leadership development is very important as a leader because you need to understand how to grow as a leader so you can grow an organization. Because if you yourself are stuck and cannot empower yourself as a leader, how are you going to empower an organization to go somewhere you've never been before? Because sometimes you have to be able to lead yourself to get to where you want to go. If you can't lead yourself because you're afraid of certain things, you're not gonna, it's gonna be very difficult for you to get there, and it's gonna be very difficult for you to accept guidance to get there because for you that looks foreign. For you, it just looks weird, right? For you, it just sounds far-fetched. So it is in your best interest for everything I said today to, if you are having resistance to some of these concepts, develop yourself as a leader. Look for leadership programs in your county, in your city that you can join, like have someone mentor you, someone successful in the nonprofit world or social enterprise world to guide you on how they became successful. Because sometimes you have to work with your ego by giving it new information so it can have a new direction to go to, and a new belief system. Because nonprofit organizations, as much as a lot of them resist this, you are a business with a tax exempt status. So the way you generate revenue will be different, but you can generate revenue and you can have income. You can charge for certain services. So yeah, that's a conversation some people are not ready to have, but I'm gonna have it whether you like it or not. Not today, but that's a conversation I'm okay in having. So I shared the steps on how to shift from being a founder-led organization to a leader-led organization. So definitely check the comments on Facebook for that. And if you're watching on TikTok, you're gonna have to add me on Facebook and go check that out because I don't know how to post that on here yet. Oh yeah, I can put comments. Because like I said, this is my first week using TikTok. So, oh no, it says character limit reach. So on TikTok, you're gonna have to wait. I'll just share the steps again at the end. But folks on Facebook, so let's we have to start thinking about ways to shift. Shift the organization, shift how you function, shift how you lead, and stop taking everything in yourself as a founder or executive director and learn how to delegate and it's going to be okay. Okay. It's going to be okay. Now, if that sounds like something that you need to do but haven't done yet, have questions about that, DM me the word founder and we will talk about what we talked here about the culture of your organization, what that looks like, so I can help you audit what's going on and see what which offer or which resource that I have is best for you. Now, if you are on Facebook, I'm gonna stay a little bit on TikTok, but if you're still on Facebook, we'll talk soon. And thank you so much for coming. Go ahead and hashtag live or hashtag replay. Again, this algorithm, let it do its thing, even on TikTok. Go ahead and comment and like the live because we already know how social media works. The more you engage, the better it is for the creator and the more it helps with the content making it to the algorithm. So whoever's on Facebook right now, hashtag replay, hashtag live, I don't care what you do, but I appreciate you. I know that much. I appreciate you. I can't see who it is. And let me close Facebook here and stay on TikTok.